Solo TV 84, fellas daps, ladies, hugs, kisses, and butt rubs. I got a special guest here tonight, the one and only BlackRam313. Black Ram, what's good, sir?
Black Ram here, also known as BlackRam313, also known as Black Ram for Vengeance, also known Black Ram the Ibmore, and for most Black Ram the Hebrew.
But Black Ram, you are a hard man to get a hold of. You know that, right, sir?
Man, it's all about business, man. Life is all work and little play.
Man, Black Ram, I'm thinking for a second, this dude must be Jason Bourne or James Bond, because every time I try to, it's like we're playing phone tag, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed.
Ram, I appreciate you, doing this podcast or phone interview, whatever you want to call it. And, let's get straight into it. As you know, there's been some serious stuff going on in the news. We just had a terrorist attack in France. Black men getting shot in my own neighborhood here in Minneapolis, 20 minutes away from where I live. And then brothers in Louisiana. What are your thoughts right now on the current state of the world right now with this terrorism and fuckery that's going on right now?
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of the times. In my own city of Chicago, we've had our problems and issues with cops shooting black men as well. The whole Laquan McDonald situation that transpired, and there was a huge, and still is a huge controversy behind that. As a black man, as black men, we are public enemy number one. We're the scapegoat for all of society's ills, whether it be white men hating us, or whether it be our own black women hating us, and the rest of society. And true enough, there are a segment, an element of us that are less than desirable in a society. However, now, there are many of us that possess civility, wisdom, and intelligence. But we must never stop to or cease to understand the environment in which we live in. The European has made us their enemy, and we are enemies. No matter what, black folk, white folks would never get along. Never get along. And I am a separatist. Now, you call it what you want, racism, I don't give a shit, but whites and blacks should be separate. Yeah. Now, if you get along with white folks and you want to hang out with white folks on your own accord, yes. But to be forced to do so to society, nah, I don't think that's working. I mean, do you think it's working? I don't think it works.
Okay.
I don't think the whole Martin Luther King civil rights hand by hand and being judged by your character is a realistic expectation. I studied Marcus Garvey, studied a little bit of the nation, and I believe that, separation is key. Our own nation, our own land, with our own plans to determine our own destiny. You will never, ever get a fair shake here in the United States of America. Don't even look for it. So how can you expect justice from a system that's unjust towards you? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay. All right. Now, Ram, you brought up an interesting point. You brought up Martin Luther King, and as you know, Black Lives Matter, is a movement that has been gaining a lot of momentum, I guess, not just in Minneapolis, but as well as in Chicago and throughout the United States of America. And my question to you, Ram, is, in your opinion, do you think Black Lives Matter, are they making a difference with, all these things that they're doing with the protests, the traffic stops, airplane stops, whatnot? When I'm talking about airplane stops, in Minneapolis, Black Lives Matter, they did a barricade at the airport, and coincidentally, in Minneapolis, 90% of Black Lives Matter happen to be Caucasians. So that's just for the record.
Me personally, protests didn't do much in the 1960s. You do have the Civil Rights Act. I don't think that accomplished nothing. I think it did more harm for black folks than it did help us. The whole idea of integration with the people that's stronger than you at the time and that hate you, it just doesn't make good sense. Instead of having our own communities with our own businesses in which some of them were burned down and bombed by the establishment, getting away from being independent, I think that did more harm than good. You see Chinese people talking about equality in Chinatown? No. Do Jews talk about equality? No, they don't. Only us. We're the only people that want to sit down and eat and be side by side in kumbaya and be hired by a system and a group of people that hate you. So Black Lives Matter and the protesting, I think, is personally, I think it's ridiculous. It's so-called a youth movement. Only thing I can see good coming out of it is kind of getting away from the Jesse Jacksons and the Al Sharptons, who are just sharks and race baiters and race prophets. More of a youth thing, but at the same time, we have to understand the origins of Black Lives Matter. Started by black women who are feminists, who are pro-homosexual and anti-patriarchy, and a movement that's funded by a global elite by the name of George Soros, who is, by some estimations, an Illuminati puppet, so to speak. At any rate, he has his own agenda. And I don't think that agenda for black folks is benevolent. And why would you trust such a movement that started, that has its origins and start in black feminism? Now, here goes the thing for me. The whole Black Lives Matter, this is the skinny on that for me.
Right.
I believe that the whole Black Lives Matter and the shootings and the protests is a smokescreen issue. A smokescreen issue. I think it's being done to produce not only a coming race war and chaos, but to also take our minds off of certain things. So let me give an example before I get more into it.
Mm-hmm.
The whole Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump thing, that's also a smokescreen issue. Donald Trump himself, of course, a white man, who is radical. He's pro-male white, okay?
Yes,
pro-male white. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But here it is, right? Let's think about demographics for a second. Donald Trump, with his rhetoric, has isolated a large demographic of women and minorities. Now, who are the majority of this country? Women and minorities. So by alienating women and minorities, right, and only having his speeches and his rhetoric suit, or his politics to suit white men, and actually much older white men, now how could you win an election by alienating so many people? And I believe it's done to give this criminal named Hillary Clinton an easy go at the White House. Smoke screen. So we have to see through the smoke and mirrors. So with Black Lives Matter, it's the smokescreen issues for the real issues that are at hand. The real issue is not the election. The real issue is not Black Lives Matter. And I'm not saying at all that cops should be shooting our people down on the street. This has been happening for years. There's nothing new about this. Nothing new about it.
Right.
But the real issue now is NATO troops all along the Russian borders with missiles and heavy artillery, moving literally heavy artillery, heavy weapons on the Russian border. What does that have to do with me? Also, another issue that's going on is that the banks in Europe are starting to fail. The banks in America are starting to fail. So instead of having bailouts, they are about to start having bail-ins. Well, what does that have to do with the average black man walking down the goddamn street? Real simple. We're talking about an economic collapse upcoming and World War III. Now, the signs are everywhere. Now, if you were in Russia, they're talking about World War III on their public news station. They're talking about, you go to another nation, they're talking about the impending global collapse. But in the United States, the corporate media, there's a blackout because Americans are dumb, stupid, ignorant. As long as we can watch Dancing with the Stars and watch our football games and have our popcorn, we're fine. Dumb Americans. Don't worry about what's really going on in the world. And they think that the way of life that we experience today is going to continue forever. I think it's called the continuity bias, that the things that are going on will always go on.
Right.
But the elite are creating problems, like racial politics and killing us in the street. And then there's going to be reaction, protest, and the solution is martial law. It's called the Hegelian dialectic. So they create the problem, they have a solution, right? A reaction, I'm sorry. Then they have the solution, but the solution is what they were looking for already. So
right.
What the Black Lives Matter is being used for, the debate is that, hey, let's start racial tensions. Let's start racial tensions for the Democratic convention that's coming up. Let's start racial tensions for the Republican convention coming up. Let's start these tensions here so we can lock down this country. Because when the collapse comes and you can't go to your local grocery store and buy that loaf of bread anymore, that's when the real problems are going to start. And those are the real, we're living in a time, Solo, like never before. And very soon, it's going to be so difficult. Life is going to be so harsh. It's going to be a sting like from a horror movie. Probably even worse than that because it's going to be reality. What they're experiencing in Venezuela with the food riots and the shortages, that's going to come to America tenfold. That's the real issue. Not Black Lives Matter. Now, I do believe Black Lives Matter, yeah, of course. I am a nationalist and somewhat a separatist. Yes, yes, yes. And when Europeans hear it, they think, oh, he's a racist. No, 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 no. If two people not getting along, let's get away from each other.
Right.
Let me get away from you. If you don't like me, I don't like you. Let's get away from each other. Now, I don't have time in my life to vet you to see if you really like me for sure or not. I'm not that kind of time.
All right, now, Ram, for the sake of conversation, you know how we do these things. This isn't your first time talking with me. I do got to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But the question I'm going to ask you is not really a devil's advocate question. If Black Lives Matter is a smokescreen, what is the solution besides separating for Black people that we can combat this injustice that is being done by the people that are supposed to protect us? Because if these police are killing us when they're supposed to be protecting us, something has to be done, Ram. And so now the Dallas shooting is a response of the fuckery. Pardon my French. I am going to curse today. But the fuckery that's going on in Dallas is a response to us having hit a boiling point, so to speak. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's only so many times you can poke a bear before the bear will respond. And I believe we're past that point. So in your opinion, is there a solution to what's going on? Now, I've heard some brothers say that Black people, we need to police ourselves and take back our communities like the Black Panthers. That, in my opinion, could take decades because Black people, we're not organized whatsoever right now for that type of action, although I do digress. But what do you think, Ram, is the solution to this senseless violence that is going on against the Black man?
Well, the solutions have always been here. And if someone doesn't want to separate, we have people like Dr. Claude Anderson and Nellie Fuller who have been saying the same thing essentially for years. What you do with the powers that be, the dominant society, is you hit them where it hurts the most for them. Now, we can't shed their blood. They are the majority of the population. They got the tanks, they got the missiles, they got the guns. So I'm not talking about violence against Europeans whatsoever. We don't have means to be violent with anybody, and I'm not even advocating being violent with anybody. At the most part, you just get away from them. Now, having said that, all they care about, the establishment, is money.
Right.
So if you wanted to protest, well, then stop spending money with everybody. But how practical is that? Your Black woman, she's not going to stop buying her weed. She don't give a shit about racial politics. Your average pookie walking down the street, he don't give a damn. He going to still go buy his 40 ounce or whatever, or go buy his blunt or whatever. He's going to do what he wants to do. But if we could stop spending money in this country, then they'll take us seriously. And then even more so, of course, I've been saying it a million times, we can stop spending money with them and spend money amongst ourselves, then you probably can see a change. You have to get the respect of the people by being first a respectable people. And all respectable people control their own economy. You don't see you ever see violence in Chinatown? There's a Chinatown in every city in America. You ever see violence in Chinatown? You ever hear a news story coming out of Chinatown? You never hear that.
Right.
You never hear that. Have you ever seen, and it's very rare, you ever see a Chinese person in jail? Do you ever see a Chinese person protest? No, you don't see any of those things. They are a silent community who are not seeking attention or political office. What they do is they control the economy. That's all they do. They control their local economy, Solo. That's all they do.
And they
control their local economy, and they stick together. So since they stick together and control their local economy, they don't give a damn who the president is. They don't give a damn who the mayor is. And I'm not even for sure they don't give a damn who the alderman of their particular ward or area or district in whatever state you live in. They don't give a damn. All they do is quietly and quite simply control their local economy, and they look out for each other. So the solutions have always been there. It's just a matter of doing. But I'm sorry to say, us Black folks, we love to parade around. We love to, we feel proud when we work for white folks and get promotions and get positions given to us by them, and own some of us own businesses, but we have to do so much to keep that business and give so much to them. I mean, we just find happiness in being servant. So I have as you know, if you listen to my videos, I have a rulership mentality when it comes to nations, and of course when it comes to women. That's all around. I think like a king. Although I'm in the position of a peasant, that's not going to stop my kingly thinking. It just can't. Somebody
Right.
has.
Now, Ram,
So,
there's a brother listening to you right now, and once again, I'm playing devil's advocate, shaking his head and saying, "Yo, Ram is talking that stuff, but separatists. Are you saying we should go back to Africa? I mean, what are you trying to say?"
well, first I'm a Hebrew, so I don't even believe that we're Africans, but that's a whole other story. I'm not an African. I'm a Hebrew. But anyway, not to get on that, it doesn't have to be Africa. I mean, it can be Africa. It can be South America. So let's think about it for a real practical stuff.
Okay.
Let's say 100 men get together. That's about business, right? And
Right.
they develop skills. Let's say their skills that they develop is one guy understands hunting, another guy understands agriculture, another man understands construction and plumbing and electrical, right? And let's say these men have jobs and own businesses or whatever. So hey, everybody, once a month, everybody raise $400 or $500, and we do that for several years. So you got 100 people in together, $500 apiece for several months. What's to stop us from going to get 100 acres in Peru? What's to stop that? And why would I say South America? South America has a nuclear treaty where all the nations around the world promised and signed contracts never to nuke South America. This is why your George Bushes and your Dick Cheneys have property there. Because the Southern Hemisphere is rich in resources and the longer growing season and fruits and vegetables galore. So we say, let's get 100 acres. Yeah, absolutely. We get 100 acres in South America. And out of that 100 acres, hey, we keep all the laws of the local land, everything, but we just build our own infrastructure there. We get somebody, building houses there and water systems and, small hospitals eventually. And we can make our own nation.
And
That's the only solution. And guess what? All this stuff is practical. 100 acres, you can do a lot. 100 private acres of land. There will be nothing to stop you from building houses and being able to supply that land,
schools,
be able to farm that land, schools and all of that stuff. You can homeschool. You can have little small clinics and everything. And whatever you need from other nations or outside that particular area, you can go and get, but then get the training and learn to do it yourself. There would be nothing to stop us. That's what the Chinese do. They come here and they just build their own little nation within a nation. So if you're not going to be here building a nation within a nation, then go somewhere else, which I would prefer, to build a nation within that nation. And if we're not doing that, we ain't talking about nothing. You can protest all you want. You can do million-man marches and the Jessies and the Black Lives, all that all day. But until you can control your own fate destiny, then we ain't talking about nothing, unless people are ready to do that. See, we have a radical problem, which requires a radical solution. If we want to think mainstream, we want to think PC, we're going to never solve a problem. It hurts people to say this, but these people hate us, man. They show us this. I'm talking about my experiences. Now, racist whites want to deny, we don't hate you, and da-da-da-da-da. That's fine. But would you let my son marry your daughter, and I come live with you? Of course not. And I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at a Chinese person who only wants to marry Chinese and want to be around Chinese. But, a lot of, white folks watch my channel, your channel, which I have no problem with that. But let's just be honest about it. Can we just have an honest conversation? There is a problem with race in America.
That's right.
And we don't want to necessarily, we shouldn't want to necessarily integrate with you. Let's be away from you. And then if a white guy want to be my friend, it'll be completely a choice. Not because we work together, not because we have to be together. Hey, this white guy want to be friends with me, cool. Go.
Right.
But don't force me in a situation that you don't want me to be in.
All right. Okay. All right, Ram, and to switch topics, because I know that time is limited, and I do want to get to some other topics. The title of this interview is called "The Origins of BlackRam313." And Ram, I'm gonna ask you some personal questions. Of course, I understand for privacy purposes. You can use fake names and all of that. That's cool with me and the viewers as well. And the first question I'm going to ask, Ram, is a lot of people are curious, who is BlackRam313? Can you tell me what it was like growing up in Chicago as a young cat, and how did you develop, with the struggles that you had to face as a young buck in the streets, in the mean streets of Chicago, sir?
Yeah, that's a lot to divulge, but I'll try to condense it because I have a lot of experiences who shape who I am today. In fact, as an individual, you are the sum total of your experiences.
Amen.
And this is who we are.
That's
Whether
right.
negative or positive, this is who we are.